morning. Sounds so weird. I picked those songs because His love did change everything, and I wouldn't be standing here today if it wasn't for God's love. And ever since we started doing these testimonies here and there, I've been thinking about it. I've been praying about it. You know, I should tell my story, but I don't really want to get up in front of everybody. And then this day rolled around. So 11/16 of 2015 is the day I gave my life to Christ. So that's 10 years ago. And my deal with God was, well, I'll look at the calendar and see what day the 16th falls on. And it was today, so I'm like, all right, I give up. And I really want to thank everybody for being here. I'm grateful and humbled that you came. And I want to thank you for praying. I know people have been praying for me a lot and encouraging me. And I really appreciate it, even though most people encouraging me have done this already. So, I'm going to start way back with my childhood on Bell South. It was my dad, my mom, my brother, who's sitting here today, and me. And it was great. It was great there. Our cousins lived in the house next door to us. There was like a whole 6 houses on this dead-end road. And I met my first best friend there at like 5 or 6. And we used to dig worms out and make our fishing poles and sit on her bridge on the pond and just fish and play Barbies. And we took our pony back in the woods. There was this little creek. I mean, it was just kid stuff. It was great. You didn't have to worry about it. You could go out and play all day and come back later. Didn't have cell phones. It was good. My grandma lived with us. My grandma and grandpa lived with us on that road. We turned their garage into an apartment. And Grandpa ended up having a heart attack and died, but Grandma was still there. And I spent a lot of time with her. I went to church with her constantly. Like, she was always in church, and I always went with her. And I remember all these bands that they had play there. It was good. Doing this, I have realized a lot of things. I realized that I have had like spiritual feelings all my life. And the Bible tells us that it's a spiritual world. There's angels, demons, whatever you want to call them, all around us all the time. And I believe I could feel that at different times in my life. And I don't ever remember hearing about Jesus, even from my grandma who I went to church with. I don't remember hearing about God. Like, I don't remember it. It's possible she talked to me about it, but I don't remember it. My dad was an alcoholic. He was a serious alcoholic most of his life. So my mom worked at Packard and ended up meeting someone and had an affair and got pregnant. And don't get me wrong, I loved them very much. They were nothing but good to us. I had wonderful parents. Even though Dad drank, it wasn't like he was a mean drunk and beat us or anything like that. But, so Mom had an affair. She was pregnant. They ended up getting divorced, even though my dad didn't want to get divorced. And he picked us up every weekend, all the time. A lot of times we'd go to the grocery store, get some food, because he didn't have a lot of food. And then we would go to the bar, and he'd give us quarters, and we'd go play games, and he would drink. And I remember some scary rides home. Mom didn't know this, of course. So she married Roger, who is my sister Jamie's dad. It's kind of complicated. We moved to Niles, sold that house, moved to Niles, and had Jamie there. So my grandma moved with us. We made the basement an apartment. I had the bedroom downstairs in her little apartment with her. There's 2 bedrooms, and it was good. The only time I remember actually hear her talking about God was I had this horrible feeling that something was with me, and I ran into her bedroom, and she prayed for me and told me that it was okay, God was there, go ahead and go back to sleep. And it was fine, I was fine. But that is the only time I remember hearing it. So Roger was a Christian. We all went to church in Niles. I was in Pioneer Girls, which is like the Christian equivalent to Girl Scouts. And apparently I was doing all kinds of things in that church. I got baptized in that church, but I still don't remember anybody talking about God to me, talking about Jesus to me, and how important it was to have a relationship with him. It wasn't like Jesus wasn't a household name or anything. But I thought I was saved because I was going to church, and I was a Christian, you know. Well, when we moved to Niles, we just moved from this little country dead-end road in Fowler by Hannah. So I was in bell bottoms and little country girl clothes. And we got there, I started 5th grade in Niles, and Howland. We lived in Niles, I went to Howland. So, I mean, that alone should tell you, these girls were wearing DoorDash already. They were wearing the fancy clothes, and they made sure I knew it. They were making fun of me, I hated it. But things changed when I met my second best friend. Her brother had been in a hunting accident and was shot in the back, and he was paralyzed. So he hung out in his room. And there was like 6 guys in the neighborhood that used to hang out there with him. And I met my friend, and we started hanging out there. Well, that's where I met my big brother, Tommy. I loved him so much. He was literally like a big brother to me. He lived kind of catty corner across from me. And he always helped me out and took care of me. And he passed away. I don't think he was 50 yet. But these guys were in a gang called the Demons. Imagine that. And so I thought I was cool and we were the only girls in this gang. So I wore my jacket to school, and then nobody messed with me anymore. Didn't have to say a word. It was funny. Didn't have to fight anybody, didn't have to say anything. It was done. So with this friend was the first and only time I ever messed with a Ouija board. And it is not a game. It is not harmless fun. It opens a spiritual door, and it's not angels that's answering you. Just like psychics, fortune tellers, they're all getting their information from demons, and it's nothing to mess with. And I'm telling you, weird stuff happened after that. I will never touch it again. So somewhere in there, my mom got divorced from Roger and married her 3rd husband. Now, me and my friend thought we were being smart and decided we were going to stay out all night. And we went to this abandoned house in Niles. She told her parents that she was staying at my house. I told mine that I was staying with her. And I had this horrible feeling all night. It was horrible. I don't know why we thought we were going to have fun staying in this abandoned house all night. I said I didn't sleep. I had a horrible feeling. And then Tommy came and found us there and said, your mom needs you home. You need to get back home. She had went and told him, go find him. And so walking home, because we were young, we were walking. A lot of cars lining the road, and found out my grandma died. And that kicked off a lot of things. I was able to go with my sister Jamie to her grandparents, and I loved them too. They took care of us. They cooked, I loved hanging out there and playing Grandpa's records, and it was just a safe place to be. And let me see, my sister Bobby was born then. She was 13 years younger than me. Jamie was 8 years younger than me. He's only a couple years younger than me, and then Bobby was 13 years. And since there was an extra room, I guess, I moved into Grandma's room because the bathroom was connected. And my stepfather's brother moved in, and he had the bedroom downstairs. And that's when the abuse started. He was grooming me. I can't believe I'm standing up here saying this. There was a lot of mental abuse, a lot of emotional abuse, because I was young and that's what they do. But, and then the physical abuse. And I have a hard time with this one because I feel like I was old enough to know better. I think I was like 13 or 14. And it's one of the reasons I never told my mom, because she absolutely would have believed me and she would have taken care of it. Like, no doubt in my mind. And I didn't tell my dad because he would have been in prison. He would have found him, tortured him, and killed him. And he would have been in prison. So I just dealt with it and felt like I deserved it. He took away my self-worth and my self-confidence and made me think that sex was the only way anybody would love me. I don't remember when I made it stop, but I did. The degradation lasted longer than the physical abuse, for sure. And that's the part that you can't get over. You know, you hear you're fat, you're ugly, no one's ever gonna love you. That part took way more from me than anything else he could do. And my mom knew something was wrong because I changed every time he was around, and I spent every minute I could anywhere else. And I'm pretty sure this is when I headed back to my friend's house on Bell South, because her mom stayed in her room all the time, and there was always some kind of alcohol or drugs there. We made this party room upstairs, and there's people coming in and out, and this time I was up for drinking or whatever else anybody had and was willing to share. And I realized I was trying to fill that hole that only Jesus can fill. But I didn't know it then. I should have died in that house. We were having a big party. There was a lot of people there, and we were all wasted. And I remember coming up the steps, and there was this big speaker sitting on the railing, and it's like a half wall. somebody knocked it over, and I have a deep scar here still because it cracked me in the head. And I guess I must have went back downstairs to the bathroom because that's where I woke up with. There was so much blood caked in my hair. I couldn't move it. It was just dried and thick, and I don't know how long I was there. I don't remember anything, and if anybody came in there, I don't know. That's all I remember. I really should have died there. I think I'm here for a bigger purpose, so, but God. After that, going to school in Howland, I met my best friend Billy, and we have been friends for over 40 years. I live here. I love you so much. And through her, we went to meet her boyfriend at the time, and we were on Parkman Road at Kmart. Remember Kmart that used to be there? And we were playing Frisbee waiting for him to get there. And he showed up with the love of my life sitting there. I was actually dating somebody else from Champion that Scott knew at that time. And we all decided to go back to her boyfriend's house to play pool. And there was such a connection with him that I took that guy upstairs and broke up with him. And then we started dating right then. We dated for quite a while. And then, you know, there was this whole car thing. His Monte Carlo meant so much to him. It was a beautiful car, but I needed a little bit more than him working on his car. So we did break up, but we always stayed friends, and we always stayed connected. And then, fast forward to New Year's Eve, 1989, I was actually dating another guy that he knew from Champion. And I was with Billy, of course, and we decided to go to another party because she wanted to go somewhere else for something. And I was like, all right, we'll be back before midnight, don't worry, it's fine. And so we ended up going there, and Scott was there. So I went back to the house and broke up with this guy. And then August of 1990, we got married. So it wasn't a very long time, just months. And then we had Tyler and Randy. Life was good. I mean, we had the kids. They played next door with the girls that lived there. It was really good. And, you know, I did this little prayer with them at night. Now I lay me down to sleep. And that kind of thing. And if you would have asked me at that point if I was saved, I would have said, yes, I'm a Christian, I'm saved. I was baptized. I truly thought all the time I spent in church, all the activities and getting baptized made me a Christian. And then it was put to the test because Scott was working, and I'm trying not to mention any names here. He met an actual witch where he worked. She was a practicing witch, and she was telling him all this stuff about Jesus that she thought she knew, and then telling him all this stuff about, you know, witchcraft and paganism that she didn't know about. And Scott started asking me questions about God, and I couldn't answer because I didn't know God. I didn't know His Word, so I had no answers for him. And honestly, thinking back, it's like, at that time, I was more afraid to go to hell than I was anything else. So it's like, oh yeah, I'm Christian. Well, that doesn't work either. But so everything she said was making sense, and he didn't know God either. So we started getting into all that. We got into witchcraft. We got into runes tarot cards. I had my cards read. And that's all demonic. Idolatry, anything but Jesus. Anything but Jesus. And things just start getting from bad to worse, you know. We started fighting. We were just basically living together. Didn't like each other. Still loved each other, but didn't like each other at all. And then he cheated. And it was the most devastating thing I think I ever been through. I almost killed myself. I had a knife, and it was such a crushing blow to me that I seriously thought about taking my own life. And I believe God stepped in there too, because I started thinking about the kids and if they found me versus him finding me. And, you know, plus I was really bad and I didn't want to give him the satisfaction. But, so my mom had some advice for me. She said that she had actually cheated on the last stepfather with his brother, of all people. And she said that she didn't care. She told him, this is what I did. Leave or don't. It's up to you. And he stayed, of course, because Mom was his gravy train. But so she said, you know, Scott is genuinely sorry. He's very sorry, and I think it'll be okay. But it's up to you. And well, we were still fighting. We were still living together and fighting. And this is another God thing. It had to have been, because it wouldn't have been. It wouldn't have come from me. We were hugging, and I think we were both crying, and I happened to look at the wall at the picture hanging there of Lisa and Rick, her first husband that died. And this voice in my head's telling me, Lisa didn't have a chance. She lost him and didn't have a choice in the matter. You have a choice. You have a choice. So I let him stay, and around that time, I didn't have a lot of time to think about it because my mom got sick. She would cough and break a rib, and finally they found out that she had multiple myeloma. And back in 2000, there wasn't a lot of recovery from that. So me and Jamie were there as much as possible, and she had kids and I had kids, and Scott took the kids, like he took care of them, so I could be there. And the last 2 weeks of her life, me and Jamie lived there, and it was really hard. And one day, Mom was in bed because she couldn't walk anymore, and she was on this morphine drip, and she was just like staring up at the window. And my sister Jamie asked her, you know, what are you looking at, Mom? And she said, there's angels all around. So you can't ever tell me that there's not a spiritual world around us. And I tried to help my stepfather because my boys loved him and I loved him. And I would do his bills and do his checkbook and wash clothes and just go over there and hang out and visit. But he was drinking so much that he would make plans with the boys and then he wouldn't show up. So I just ended it. And my little sister Bobby was still living there. She was 17 when Mom died, and I tried to get her to live with us, but she was already partying and doing drugs, and she did not want to give it up. I'm pretty sure about that, 'cause she told me that she was partying a lot then. So 8 days after my mom died, Scott's grandma died, and I loved her so much. She was the sweetest thing. Well, I was taking Randy to my sister Jamie so we could go there, and I don't know why, but me and Scott were fighting, and this voice in my head said, "You shouldn't leave the house mad, you just don't know what could happen." Again, not my voice. And I ignored it. I just ignored that one. And I left anyways. And we had just bought this beautiful blazer, full-size blazer. And it was right after, well, right during, basically, all these ice storms that we were having in the winter. And because it was January. Snow, ice, the plow trucks would go down, the ice would pile up on the side of the road. And so I was in this big truck. So I just started driving down the road, and this voice told me again, "Fasten your seatbelt," because I never wore my seatbelt. And praise God, I listened that time. I do believe that He's been there every step of my life. So there was this car coming towards me, and I went to move over just a little bit because I was in a big truck. And I hit that ice, and thank God it was after the car passed me. But I did like 3 spins in the road and then head first into, I took out a pine tree, a telephone pole, and a cast iron fence. It was bad. I totaled the blazer. Randy was in the seat next to me, and I thought I killed him. I was like, Mom died, Grandma died, and I thought I just killed him because he was stone still, like wouldn't speak to me. He was just scared and sitting there, and got him out, and I mean, he was fine. Thank God for that. Well, about a month later, same ice. I was coming down the steps outside, and I slipped, and I came right down on my butt, full force, and I still to this day have a dent where I landed. And that one was bad. Scott thought I just died because he's yelling at me and I couldn't answer him. I just couldn't breathe. And it wasn't too long after that I was with Tyler on the same road, going the opposite way, and I got rear-ended. And this guy had been drinking a lot. And the cop showed up and he said, "I can smell the alcohol on his breath." Well, I started going to the chiropractor after that because I was in so much pain after all these accidents. And he's like, "You need to go see an attorney. You need to go see an attorney." So I did. Stupidly went to an attorney. And he's like, "Go wherever you want, get testing. We need all these facts for, for this case and everything." Well, here the cop never wrote down that this guy had been drinking. Didn't put down that he smelled alcohol. He didn't put any of that down for some reason. So after years of dealing with this, I got about $1,000 and hooked on pain pills for 18 years. Because the doctors, they're like, "Yeah, we did this MRI, you have bulging disc, you have a herniated disc, you have pinched nerves, you have all this going on, but we can't really do anything about it. Here's some pills." And it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. So during this time, after all the accidents and everything, and then my dad got sick. he came over one day to pick up the kids, and his eyes were yellow. And he went and got checked out, and here he had pancreatic cancer. He had stopped drinking because of the kids, and it still caught him. And Tyler was using drugs during this time, more and more and more. And we tried putting him through programs because he was still kind of young, and it didn't do anything. He just got worse. And during all of this, we were still fighting because, you know, that's what we did. And we separated 2 different times. Scott moved in with his parents, and I stayed at the house with the kids. We almost divorced. We came so close. And if he would have filed papers, I wouldn't have fought him. Then one day, my sister Jamie was saved, and she kept posting all this stuff about God. Well, I would just scroll, you know. And one day she tagged me in the post, and it was a sermon from T.D. Jakes, A Word for Women. And all I can honestly tell you about that video is it was about King David and Uriah's wife, which is Bathsheba. But he kept saying Uriah's wife because it wasn't King David's wife. He stole her from Uriah. But the whole story, I can't remember any more than that. And I remember sitting there, I had my headphones on, and I'm listening, and I'm crying hard. And then it'd be okay for a minute, then I start crying hard again, and Scott was sitting there on the other couch, and he's like, "What is wrong with you?" Like, "Nothing." And I go back to crying. And I don't know what it was, but I know it was God. And he used it just for me, because I actually shared it later with other people that were struggling, and they didn't get the same thing out of it. And then I listened to it later, and I didn't get the same thing out of it. It was just, it was a good sermon, you know. I don't listen to him, but it was a good sermon. And but it got me. He used it, and I got up when it was over, and I was walking past Scott to go to our bedroom, and I told him, "I don't care if you love me. God loves me, and that's all I need." And I went in, hit my knees, and I surrendered. Lord, take it. I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it. I hate my life. Lord, take it. You do something with it. And he did. And I normally feel different, but I felt better after that. But something was different, because I don't think the same. I don't feel the same. I mean, it's different. And all those years, I never realized how much I hated myself. I hated myself. I hated looking in the mirror. I couldn't take it. I was ashamed of myself. I didn't think I mattered, and I didn't think anybody really loved me. And even him. But it changed when I saw myself through God's eyes. I could look in the mirror and be okay, and all that hatred towards myself left, because that's what the love of God does. And so that was short-lived, feeling good, because I had demons coming at me after that. And the only way I can just describe it is I was having dreams that they were trying to pull me out of my house, pull me down, and they were really real dreams to me. And I was afraid to look at the down in the cool air vent because it went downstairs, and I was afraid to look down there for the longest time because I had this feeling something was there. It's all right. And then I would be in the shower and I was afraid to open my eyes because I didn't want to close my eyes because I didn't want to open my eyes and see something, and then I just felt this heavy presence. And I was talking to Jamie one day, and me and Jamie were on the phone constantly. We did an 8-hour marathon Bible study over the phone one day, and I told her, I can't take it. What do? I don't know what to do. Like, this is horrible. And she said, well, God told me to tell you something, but you're going to think I'm crazy. And I said, I don't care what it is, tell me. And she said, you got to tell him to leave your house, get out in the mighty name of Jesus. And she's telling me all this stuff, and I'm this new Christian, and I'm like, what? She's saying, you tell them that you were bought by the blood, and they have no rights to you, and all this stuff like that. And I'm like writing it down because I didn't know what she was really saying. And I did. I went through the house. I'm like, get out, get out, get out in the name of Jesus. And they did, because they had to, because nothing can stand against the name of Jesus. It wasn't me, it was him. And at this point, I just really want to thank everybody that had been praying for us for so long. This church, my loved ones, my friends, like people that are praying for us. And you never convince me that prayer doesn't work. And Psalm 116, 1-2 says, I love the Lord because he has heard my voice and my supplications. Because he bends down to listen, therefore I will call on him as long as I live. God hears all that are his, and he answers. So I was telling Jamie, I'm like, what do I do with Scott? Like, he's still the same. I don't know what to do. She's like, just pray for him. Don't say a word, just pray. So I did. I was praying every night. And he's like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm praying for you. I'm praying. And he's like, okay. Well, I wouldn't go to church because I didn't want to give anybody a satisfaction of me coming here. Because I was still a little rebellious at that time. But I was in my Bible and I was listening to sermons on the TV, and like I said, talking to my sister, and I was holding my own, I guess. And one day, Scott out of the blue says, I'm going to church. I said, okay, I'm not going. And he did. He came, called Lisa, came to church, and him and Woody were thick as thieves at that time, Pastor Woody, because of the guns and ammo and everything. But he would go to lunch with everybody after church, and so it wasn't too long that March or April, whatever Easter was, he gave his life to Christ. And but God, there's no other answer. So again, he's watching a pastor on Facebook and watching his sermon, and he's like, you gotta hear this sermon. So I started listening to it, and it was on forgiveness. And he wanted he wanted everybody to think of the person that hurt you the most. And then once you got that person in your head, he said, now you need to think of yourself washing their feet. Jesus washed Judas's feet. And that's what you need to do. And I did. I put everything into it. And I forgave him for hurting me so much for all those years. And I just realized, writing this out, that I was able to forgive myself. Because I've been holding on to that for a long time. Even though I saw myself differently, I don't think I ever really forgave myself for thinking that I did anything wrong, which I didn't do anything wrong. But it was the strangest stuff, Facebook videos and then songs. It's all in God's timing. And so Tyler had been in and out of jail, in and out of rehab for all these years. He overdosed twice in our house and almost died. And then he was in jail one time in solitary confinement and found out that his girlfriend's brother had passed away, and he was really good friends with this guy, and he died from an overdose. And that hit Tyler, and I believe God used that solitary confinement to reach him because there was no noise. And he was seeing changes in us. He told me he saw it, and we actually started seeing changes in him, although he was still addicted. But Scott and I were growing stronger and closer this whole time, which is another God thing. And I realized this, writing all this down, it's His love that we have for one another now. He gave us His love, and we share it with each other. And it's such a different kind of love. It's just, it's amazing. It's an amazing love. Well, on 9/21 of 2016, on Scott's birthday, Tyler had been in jail. We went and got him out of jail. And on Scott's birthday, Tyler got on a plane to go to Florida for rehab. And he was 3 months clean and sober. He was lifting weights and taking care of himself. He looked fantastic. He was going to church in Florida. And then he slipped. And I went to Lion and Lamb bookstore, Christian bookstore in the mall, to buy some last minute Christmas gifts. This was 12/22 of 2016. And I do feel like God had been preparing me for this. And He was all around me. Like, I knew He was there with me, but He was like literally on the walls. There was God on the shelves. It was just God everywhere. And I got a phone call from Tyler's phone, but it wasn't him. It was a police officer, and he had told me that Tyler had overdosed and died. So, like I said, God was around me. He was there with me. And just to think about what could have happened if we weren't saved when this happened. Because I know he would have went and killed some drug dealers, even though they weren't the drug dealers that Tyler got the drugs from in Florida. He would have went after some that he knew of. He probably would have been in jail, and Randy probably would have been in jail. and I would have been a broken mess, an absolute broken mess. Well, he passed away on 12/22. On Christmas Eve, I and Lisa always had a big Christmas Eve party, and we had talked about it and decided to have it. And time to tell your little I'm sorry, Ruth, I know it's long. So I was getting ready for the party, and I was in my bathroom, and I was just breaking down and crying out to God. And it was just crying to God. And I didn't know it at the time, but Scott had been in the garage and he was doing the same thing. He was crying out to God. And Lisa at the same time was in her house crying out to God. And Ty was in the barn, and he was too. And he ended up calling us because he got a word from God for us. And he said he fought with himself about telling us, because he wanted to make sure it wasn't him. And then he said he wouldn't have had these thoughts. It was definitely God. And what he said was, your son is with my son. And through this, you will bring me many more sons. Our son was with Jesus, which I knew anyways, but that confirmation, it changed so much. And we got the pleasure and honor of Kayla coming into our lives then. And she stood by Randy the entire time. She never left. She was here for the calling hours of the funeral, through everything. She was by his side. And her parents came. And instead of saying, I don't want you anywhere near that family because their son died from a drug overdose, they came and mourned with us. They were here for calling hours of the funeral. And that's the first reason that I love them so much. And after that, my sister Bobby had been in jail. And we weren't talking for years because she wanted drugs and I wouldn't give her drugs. So she was mad at me and she was using a lot. And I could tell you a big story about the house and everything that she did, but I won't because I don't have enough time. And there was a lot of bad feelings there between me and her. Well, she heard about Tyler, so she reached out to me in a letter, and I wrote back to her this like 3-page letter telling her what she did to me and how I felt and blah, blah, blah. And then I read it and I'm like, okay, I rewrote it with God's love instead of my bad feelings. And we started talking. I went to visit her a bunch of times. We were talking on the phone, and when she got out of there, she didn't have a place to stay, so her and her son came to stay with us. And she was coming to church with us because we didn't want her staying at the house by herself. Plus, I wanted to get her in church. And she was coming here, and she came to Bible studies, and Brandon got involved, and he was in Sunday school class, and it was really good. She was doing so good that our friends got her hooked up with this guy, this business, and she got hired, and she had this really great job. And we got her a car, and she was doing really well. And then she gave her life to Christ. And I know she did because there was a big change. But she's still, an old friend came back into her life. Let's just put it that way. And after that, it started changing again because addiction is addiction and you're gonna fight it. And so anyways, she was having a lot of trouble. And I know Randy had been crushed by Tyler's death. And one day in church, he came to church with us, and Woody completely changed his message last second because Randy came through the doors. It was one thing he had been planning on and preparing, and then Randy came in and messed it all up for him. But Woody was obedient to God, and he changed his message. And that message led Randy to give his life to Jesus. So through one video and my surrender, my whole family got saved. That's why my testimony is but God. And so I told you I was on all kinds of prescriptions for 18 years. 18 years. By the time it was over, I was on Oxycontin 80s 3 times a day, Percocet 10s 4 times a day, Soma 4 times a day, Xanax, and Ambien extended release to sleep, because I couldn't sleep. Like all that stuff, and I couldn't sleep. But I was a high functioning, it's like, whoa, I feel better. No, it didn't knock me out, which I wish it would have knocked me out. But we were coming to life support here, even after Tyler died. We used to have it in the back room, and you know, anybody, any addiction, anybody was welcome, really. So we were still coming to that, and because we were there to support everybody. And I decided, you know what, if I'm gonna talk it, I need to walk it. So the doctor didn't know, because he was just a pill pusher, you know. I would ask him if he could like lower the doses here and there, because you can't just jump off everything. And he did, and within months I got off all of it. And he was shocked. He said, I don't know how you did it, because it takes years to get somebody off of all this stuff. And I said, God did it. Because I couldn't get off of it by myself. I couldn't. I tried. I got down to 2 pills a day. I tried so hard. I mean, from all that stuff, 2 pills a day, how can I not get rid of it? But one day I was just, Jamie's telling me, just keep going forward, and he'll take care of it. He'll take care of it. Talking about God, and I'm like, okay. So that's what I did. And then one Sunday I just got on my knees, and I'm like, Lord, I can't. You said you move these mountains, and it's just stuck in place. Like, I don't know what to do. I need your help. And then Monday, I had no pills. I had no withdrawals. I had no nothing. No nothing. He took it from me. And I mean, I still had a lot of problems, because Oxycontin, though they tell you it's not addictive, stays with you for like a year or two. And I had so much back pain hip pain from that. It was just horrible. I couldn't stand, I couldn't sit. But it was worth it to get off of it. And I did tell Tyler that I would be off all this stuff one day, so I'm glad I kept that promise. And then Randy and Caleb got married. And her family and our family are really close. We do a lot together, and I love them very much. It couldn't have been better. And about a month after their wedding, my sister Bobby overdosed and died. She had moved out of our house because she couldn't do what she was doing in our house. And all of her old contacts came back, and you could see it, but you couldn't do anything about it. But although Tyler and Bobby both slipped and they died from an overdose, I know where they are, and I know I'll see them again. And then Kayla got pregnant, and it was the best ever. And the day of they were supposed to get their gender reveal card, hidden card in this envelope so they couldn't see it. The doctor says, "You're having a boy, but he has Down syndrome." And then they pushed abortion. And their abortion was pushed on them more than once. But God, because we got the wonderful gift of Colton, even though he kicked me in the face last night. And then he almost died from COVID pneumonia. And it was during the time of COVID when you couldn't go see him. We couldn't go anywhere near him. But we prayed, and this church prayed. And he doesn't have any heart issues like they said. He's fine. He is healthy. And you guys know how active he is. I have video of him going past the church going, wanting to come in. And I got the privilege, I was blessed enough to be able to care for him while Kayla went back to work a couple days a week. And Scott was so okay with me not finding another job because my store closed. And he said, "No, you gotta take care of that baby." So that's what I've been doing. And then we got the wonderful gift of Emmy. And she's the first girl in our immediate family. My sister Jamie had 3 boys. I had 2. Bobby had 1. And then we have Emmy. We had Colt and we have Emmy. And it is amazing, but weird. And our next gift is on the way. All these children are God gifts. And the Bible says in James 1:17, every good gift and every perfect gift is from above and comes down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow of turning. Everything good comes from God. Everything. And I think it's my life's purpose, mission, whatever you want to call it, to make sure that these kids know about God and just how precious they are, not only to their family, but to God. I will make sure they know all the things I wish I was told. They are wanted, they are precious, and they are perfect. I don't ever want to imagine where I'd be without my Jesus. So I would be upset with myself if I did not take this moment because I don't plan on ever doing this again, to ask, do you know Jesus? Do you know about him, or do you know him? Maybe more importantly, does he know you? Do you have a relationship with him in a changed life? Or like I did years ago, you think you're saved because you believe there's a God. You went to church, you sang the songs, and you even got baptized like I did. There's such a difference. I'm a miraculous example of the difference between knowing Jesus in your head and knowing him in your heart. And I love you all, and I want you to be with me in paradise too. John 3:3 says, Jesus answered and said to him, most assuredly I say to you, unless one is born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God. So it's eternity without God or eternity with God. And we should all know where we're going to spend our eternity. I love you all very much, and I really appreciate you listening to this. And that's it. I'm done.